we break society into different groups. Already, people are separated based on their religion, based on their their race. Even though people are trying to push the idea that there's no such thing as race, we're all one human race. It's like we are dogs, right? Every dog you see basically has the same DNA, right? But depending on how they are raised, they look different. So whether it's the big the big Dobermans or the sheep dogs or the wolf dogs, they are all have their ancestry from wild wolves about 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. But anyway, this morning, like I said, we're talking about social stratifications, and we're talking about friends from different social class. Now, children have this innate ability, right, to just mingle anywhere and everywhere. I think, or as I've read, and I believe that some of you may not, children probably see the clearest of all of us. I've seen scenarios where a mother comes to a room or to a place with her maybe 2-year-old or 3-year-old and just puts the child down. And then the child just starts to go around and talking to others, is interacting with other children. Some children are more reserved than others, that's true. But the child just has to interact. Okay, who do I like here? Who makes sense here? And sometimes, you find that friendships spark from the oddest of places. Now, growing up, I didn't know, and I'm sure maybe some of you have had the same experience. I didn't know who was rich or who was poor until I got to about, I think maybe the age of, let's say 12, 13, right? That's when it started to really dawn on me. Prior to that period, everybody on my street was my friend. Everybody rode bicycles. I've shared stories of people sharing your footballs, your table tennis. You may have the table tennis ball. Somebody else will have the bat, right? And hey, that's how we all became friends. You would have the bicycle. In fact, there was somebody on the street who didn't have a bicycle, but he had the pump to pump our bicycles. So rather than paying that time, you will have to push the bike or push the bike all the way down to the estate gate, right? And then pay. Can never forget, we had to pay that time 50 kobo. 50 kobo. Then it now got to 1 naira 50 kobo. We're all angry to pump our tires. So this guy had a small pump. So that guy became our friend because he had the pump. So when our tires were down, we'll just go to his house, he'll pump our tires, and guess what? He had a free reign to ride our bicycles. But as we got older, as children got older, things started to change. They became more aware of the stratification. Now, a recent study from the UK showed that primary school students or pupils are more likely to have friends from different ethnic groups than from different social class. Let me repeat. Children are more likely to have friends from different ethnic groups. Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, Tiv, Nupe, I beg your pardon, Esako, Birom, Isoko, Urobo, Izo, Shakiri, Ikwere, Andoni. There's a likelihood that they will have friends from more areas in diversity than they were to have friends who were from a different social class, aka who were either not as rich as they were or who were not as poor as they were. And it boiled down to parenting. But in our time, like I said, we didn't know who was rich or who was poor. We just knew we had friends. But these days, parents are intentionally keeping their children away from, quote unquote, those type of friends. Those type of friends whose parents didn't have 2 Range Rovers or at least a fine car. Or those type of friends that didn't travel abroad for Christmas or indeed for Easter holidays. Abroad, I'm not talking about to the village. My question this morning is this. Do you, as a parent, encourage your children to be friends with people from different social classes? Or are you actually or subconsciously teaching your children that rich is this, poor is that, don't mix both of them?
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeriainfo FM. Nigeriainfo, let's talk.
Jude on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
017-923-0002, 017-923-0003, 0817923-0002, 0817923-0007. All right, at Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeria Info PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X at Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeriainfo PH. Are you discouraging your child or encouraging your child or your children to be friends with people from other social classes? How many of you parents would allow your children play with the driver's children? How many of you will let your son or your daughter play with people down the street even though they don't have a big Toyota Land Cruiser like you do? How many of you prevent your children, your son and your daughter, from playing with the mechanic's son or daughter? Like I said, children naturally just know how to make friends. They see clearer than most of us. They really do. Jude, good morning. Once again, I'm stuck here asking myself if these things that you bring up are done to make people feel ashamed of themselves. There are lots of parents who don't encourage their children to do so. We're back after this break.
Stay with us. Nigeria Info.
and sat on her laps. And that woman just had to give her food. She started to eat. Everyone was like, what's going on? What's going on? And the mother of the child was about to, stood up and like, oh, I'm sorry. And the woman says, it's okay. It's fine. She's not disturbing me. And then, everybody had their meal. And it was later on, as the story goes, that the woman opened up to the mother and said, I lost my daughter a few weeks ago. That baby somehow made me feel a lot better by her sitting on my laps, because that's what my daughter used to do as a baby. My daughter used to sit on my lap. Did not know this woman from anywhere, but they were obviously from different walks of life. The question is, here in Nigeria, are we allowing our children mingle? Can you honestly tell yourself in the mirror that my son or my daughter has no preference beyond good morals to the person that he or she makes his or her friend? Or have you already taught them to identify who is the wealthy person and who is not the wealthy person? Clearest example, I always have to say, sorry, I was taught how to drive, beg your pardon, by mechanics at Elekaya, the mechanic village there. They used to come to our house, sit down, watch the English Premier League matches, and then go home. I never one day had my father say, don't enter my house. I never had my mother one day say, get out, you're smelling. A lot of the times when they were there, they'd eat. They've collected their money, they've repaired the car, but they'll sit down with us and watch the football matches.
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeriainfo FM. Nigeriainfo, let's talk.
With Jude on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
017-923-0007, 0817-923-0003. WhatsApp, and how messages I get to them right now. WhatsApp is 0809-030-6416, 0809-030-6416. Ernest from Moji sends a message and it says, many parents don't encourage that. Like they say, nobody is born to hate. They are taught to hate from a young age. Some parents are like that. They don't play with that one. Don't associate yourself with that low class. This and that. Like my mother used to tell us, you live in a flat, don't play with riffraffs that are living in the yard. Wow. She thought she was doing me a favor, not knowing she was teaching me how to hate my fellow Nigerians. Where do you think tribalism came from? Ernest in Woji. Wow. Jude, this is a bit tricky. I would like my children to only have courageous, adventurous, intelligent, kind, curious people with good hearts and character in their circle. I don't want them to forge relationships based on their perception of the reality of the other person's looks or bank balance. But the people who have hurt me the most have always been from poorer backgrounds. Even when they appeared richer, it was a facade. This has been in childhood, teenage years, and adulthood. I no longer believe that every child is an innocent, pure, blank slate. Some are born evil. Some are taught to be evil from a very young age. And I don't want my children to suffer as I did, being targeted by cruel folks who genuinely thought they were entitled to all my stuff, even when I was willing to share. Anonymous. Good morning, Jude. Teaching children how to hate has been one of the hallmarks of modern society. Take it or leave it. We teach our children to hate people or not interact with people who are not from our church. We teach them not to talk to people who are not from our state. We even teach our children not to play with other children who are of a different skin color than we are. It is what we do. This social stratification is a big problem in all societies. It's not just a Nigerian thing. Children are taught to hate. This hate can only be unlearned when the child becomes wiser. For now, I'm very particular of the kind of people that come around my children, but I don't tell them it's because they don't have money or they're from a different tribe. It's because they don't meet the moral guidelines I choose. If I don't like what I see from that child, I would not let my child play with them. Stanley with that comment. Phone lines 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0007. Once again, 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0007. At Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X at Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X. Please don't call the WhatsApp number. I'm sorry if I didn't say that earlier. Somebody's calling. Please don't call the WhatsApp number. Please, that number is strictly for the reception of messages. Joe, good morning. Interesting conversation. You were talking about parents allowing their children to meet from other social cultures. But the truth is there are still some parents who teach their children, who train their children to be opportunistic and prey on other children. There are some parents who send their children and make sure that they go and be friends with that big man's son or that big man's daughter in a light for favor to come upon them. There are some parents who intentionally send their because they're looking for opportunity to meet those other wealthy parents and also make big deals. There are some parents who do their very best to collect contracts from the same schools that they send their children to. Why do you think they do that? Because they're trying to make ends meet, not because they can afford that lifestyle. Some parents are actively beggars themselves. Woo-hoo-hoo. Some parents are actively beggars themselves. Ooh, so strong comment there. But is there truth to this, ladies and gentlemen? Do you agree? That's from Anita. Do you agree that there are some parents who will intentionally tell their son, tell their daughter, don't be friends with this person. He's not rich enough. That person is the kind of person I want you to be friends with. More messages. All right, Jude, my parents did not allow me play with the children in the neighborhood. And to be honest, we were significantly richer than they were, and I am forever grateful that they did so. We have since moved out of that neighborhood. Now, those children, some of them are teen moms, cultists, and just not going anywhere. Thank God for them. I could have become like that. There's a relationship between poverty and moral decadence. Nothing anybody will tell me. I see that point. I understand that point. I understand that narrative. Back in university, we used to have that phrase. I don't know if they still use them. NFAs, no future ambitions. It was usually ascribed for the truant student or the non-academic student, as we like to call them, right? They only come to school maybe during examinations or tests or whatnot. They don't attend lectures. They always seem to be in one party or one trouble or the other. Now, that might just be an oversimplification of the challenges that these individuals are going through. But yes, I think that this last message has some truth in them. That there is a relationship between poverty and moral decadence. Look at the slums across the world. Look at the shanty towns across. You have a lot of crime in those areas. You have a lot of crime. We really can't separate them. So if for example, like he said, that the neighborhood that they grew in, their parents protected them. Now, years after, many of them are teen moms, cultists. If believe that Mingo, and it's your responsibility as a parent to protect your child. No one can, and no one should stop you from doing that. But it's a very fine line this morning. Oh my God, I can literally feel the pressure that some parents are going through right now. It's a very fine line to walk. Yes, you want to protect your son or your daughter, but at the same time, you don't want them to have a false sense of security. Well, at least that's what I assume, that you don't want them to feel that they are better than others. Oh, jeez. Yes, some parents actively tell their children, oh, this is true. Really? Some parents actively tell their children to be friends with the children of the rich because of what they believe they stand to gain. For God's sakes, there are mothers who deliberately push their daughters to scam rich guys in the name of dating or marriage purely because of what that's the parents now, believe they will gain from the arrangement. Wow. I used to think that I was much better than a lot of my classmates because we used to have a driver that would bring us to school and also take us back. In some cases, my mom would even instruct the driver to take my friends home to their various houses whilst we were on the way home. And sometimes they will stop at, I won't mention this place, they stop at a fast food restaurant, and my parents will give the driver money to buy myself and my friends all the food that we can eat. So it wasn't long before I became very popular and everybody wanted to be my friend. But my parents never allowed my friends to come to my house. I'm not quite sure why. Speaking about this, remember I said children really know how to make friends without barriers. They don't see your new car, they don't see your this, they don't see any of those things. They like this child, their friend, they'll play with the friend. But this is, dare I even say, this is diabolical. So you set your son up, everybody knows, but you don't let your son's friends come to your house. There may be a reason. Let me not be too hasty to say, oh, that's bad parenting. There may be a reason. I don't know. I'm very sure there's a cogent reason. But as I wrap up, let me say this. No matter how much you protect your son or your daughter, the truth is that individual is going to come into society. You are listening to me. I'm working in an environment like you. I go to the market like you. Sometimes I go to the market, I'm not able to buy a whole bag of the items I want. And then I see people who are. So all of us are of different means. So no matter how much you protect your son or your daughter, they are still going to be exposed to society. So what exactly are you teaching them? It's Christmas, everybody. Maybe it's time we start to recheck some of the things and beliefs that we have. There's no right or wrong answers here this morning. Thank you very much for those of you sending your messages. Apologies for the lines. The lines keep coming up and going off. I do hope they improve as the hour goes by. But please, once again, do better. All right? At least I hope you know better. My name is Jude. Good morning.